Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sales Hacker webinar. Super excited for this one today. We got two guys that know their stuff inside and out, and I'm really excited to learn from them. I know the attendees are as well. So what we're speaking to today is video selling secrets and how to book 4X meetings through video, okay? Super stoked. This is great. I know I've been using video for some time. I definitely have some work to do to make it better. So really excited to hear what these guys have to say. I'm going to hand it over to Josh and Jordan, and they're going to give us and bless us with their knowledge on video selling. They'll kind of speak through the deal cycle, how video helps from prospecting all the way to closing deals. Really excited to hear what they got to say there. And then from there, we got some examples, right? So we're going to break down some examples, go through them, what was done well, what might need some work on. And I know in the invite, we asked you guys to bring your examples as well. So please, once we get to that point, I'm going to ask you guys to drop a link in the chat so then we can bring that up and break it down for you, give you some feedback, right? I know some people get cold feet to do it, but if you want to be elite at your video selling, today is the day to do it and get the feedback from these guys, okay? Let's introduce our incredible panelists today. Okay, Jordan Veiga and Josh Kirkham from Vidyard are here to help us with our video selling. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Welcome.
It's a pleasure being on here. Very big fan of the sales hacker community personally, so always an honor to be a part of these conversations.
Awesome. Yeah, super amazing to be here. Thanks for bringing us on, Mikey. This is going to be a great session here. Looking forward to what we're going to chat about, obviously, and this is big information for a lot of people in here to learn a little bit more about video and how to improve their sales cycle. So let's get to it, guys.
Great. Thanks, guys. Okay, so before we dive right into the conversation, I always like to get our panelists to give a bit more of a background on who they are, what they're all about, how they got to what they are. So Jordan, he's a senior video coach at Vidyard. Please just give us a bit more background so we can get a bit more acquainted.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, yeah. So I started at Vidyard 2 years ago, 2.5 now, actually, a little bit. And I started off as an SDR. So starting in the beginning of the sales cycle, learning a little bit about inbound, outbound prospecting, and all about video in general, right? I was totally new to what is like using one-to-one video in communication in general. So that was a new thing to me. And getting over that hump that we're going to talk about today, that nerve-wracking fear of getting in front of the camera all the time, to then realizing in the middle of my transition, probably around 1.5 years, of Vidyard's solution being like more product-driven, and that was people like to know what they're using before they dive into a purchase or to actually use an equipment, product, service, whatever it may be. I'm a firm believer in coaching and adoption. That's something that's driven me from the past, coming from playing in sports. It's something where you need to be coached to be great. It's one of those things you can't just be great right off the hop. I wish I was LeBron James, but you can't be like that. Even then, he was coached, right? So we started to believe in a model where if we can coach individuals to learn how to use our product, it drives adoption, and then everyone can learn a little bit more, regardless if they're using our product, whoever, they're using video. Video is our big thing. So I'm a firm believer in that and driving adoption. So now I'm in this role of, we have a small team here of like 3 of us doing coaching, actually 4 of us doing live coaching for individuals, customers, clients, big corporations, all the way down to just a one-person mom and pop shop, just trying to better practice themselves in video and more effectively in their sales outreach. So I'm excited here today to bring that experience. But I know I got a great colleague here that I actually learned a lot from when I first got hired at Vidyard, so I'll kick it to him, Josh Kirkham.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for the warm introduction there. My name is Josh Kirkham. I'm the sales manager over here at Vidyard. Before Vidyard, I was a university athlete, so extremely competitive by nature. Played out in Alberta, played volleyball through university, through provincial team, national team, stuff like that. After school, I actually used to sell graphic t-shirts, so that was my intro to sales, and had the blessing to actually get into the tech space. So started at Vidyard as a BDR, not knowing anything about tech, sales, or video at all. So this was something that I had to really warm up to. I'm not somebody who likes being behind camera naturally, so it is interesting at times that I help sell video for a living. From there, transitioned to an account executive role at Vidyard, moved up to a senior account executive, team lead for the emerging sales team, and now I manage 10 members on that sales team as well. So very excited to be here. So excited to get into some tactics of using video, and even just sharing some stories along the way, from selling with video to even helping team members today using that too. So
unreal. Thank you, gents. Super excited to have you guys here and learn from you. I know you're filled with knowledge for all of us here today, and I'm super excited to hear how video can help us throughout the whole cycle. I know I started using video as an SDR as well, and I found it extremely successful, right? It's kind of building that relationship, giving a bit more personalization to your reach outs, right? And I know it goes a long way to prospects and customers in terms of building relationships and so on. And especially since we've been remote for almost 2 years now, or a lot of us have, it's even that much more successful, in my personal opinion. So without further ado, why don't we dive into it? I'll let you guys kind of take it away.
Sure. Yeah, no, thank you. Josh, you want to kick, or I'll just start off. Actually, I want to just highlight some key items we're going to be talking about today, and Josh is going to kick it off just right after. Today's a big approach. We're going to keep it very natural, organic here. Less about visuals, more about just talking through the experience of video and really taking you guys through a deeper dive into the ways you can use video throughout the whole sales cycle, starting from prospecting, getting in front of that prospect as much as possible, to then getting on a call with them, doing some qualifications, some follow-ups. So we're going to take you through that video process, how we create videos in those areas, and then I'll be, as Josh is presenting some of them and highlighting some items from the coaching aspect side. I'm just going to kind of talk about, why that video may have been more effective than doing something a little bit different. And then at the end of this all, I'm just going to provide just some quick tips and best practices around getting set up for the first time and creating your first video, and just some things that you can do in your room to kind of make it a little bit more professional as much as possible. Like Mikey said, we're working from home, so we got to do what we have to do. So I'll kick it to Josh to kind of start off on how we use video here at Vidyard and just in general throughout the sales cycle.
yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that we're very firm believers in here is that video is a way to help communicate with your clients in general. One of the favorite things that I was actually told, and it was mind-blowing it took us this long to figure it out, but somebody interviewed at Vidyard a couple months ago, and in his first interview, he came up with this line saying, "The medium is the message." And it just blew my mind when I heard it, right? When you're looking to communicate with your clients, you're looking to get in touch with them in some way, whether you're using cold calling, email, social, or something like video. Everyone and anywhere you talk to talks about multi-pronged approaches to try to get in front of somebody. Video is another tool in that tool belt, and honestly, it really doesn't matter if somebody prefers we reach out through LinkedIn, social, email, cold call, whatever that is. The biggest thing is they have that ability to take your message in when it's the most convenient for them and to hear it out. Now, obviously, the beauty with video in general, no matter what that platform is you can start to track things. There's different elements of branding and call to actions and make that process easier. But the whole idea behind this is that the medium is the message. So one of the biggest things that probably every single person who's watching this webinar anytime will think of is video is a fantastic way to help with prospecting. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It's a fantastic way to break through the noise, get in front of people, and really showcase messages of your platform. But I would say if you're going to take anything away from today, it's finding different creative ways to use video throughout that sales cycle. Video is great for cold outbound prospecting. Video is great for inbound prospecting when you're following up with marketing leads. Video is really cool from an introduction perspective. And this is an area where I find a lot of people forget about using video. When you're getting on that first meeting with somebody, they have no clue what you look like. They have no clue what you sound like. And being able to send a quick meeting reminder the day before is not only a really cool way to decrease your no-show rates, but it puts the face to the name and turns that first meeting from a first date to a second date. Because they already know some of the horrible jokes you like to make, some of the mannerisms you have, things like that. And it just helps warm up that conversation as well. All the way to using it through post follow-ups, maybe even throughout your sales cycles as well, showcasing aspects of your platform, all the way to the handoff process, so maybe that account executive, CSM, or wherever that's going to be. So we're going to get really in depth into other strategic ways that we can start to use video today, outside of just the old whiteboard and a marker trying to get in front of somebody, because there's a lot more creative and efficient ways that we can start to leverage video to become more efficient in how we're communicating here. right?
It's funny how often it's funny how often, like, this is like, it's almost become my cell phone when I'm working. Like, it's just always beside me. And it's just like, it's funny you say that. Yeah.
I would say one of the biggest things that I'm sure everybody's seen an example of this in the past is the old whiteboard and a marker, right? And I find the more that video is being used throughout traditional sales and prospecting perspectives is the one thing that I've always heard from the OG video coach here at Vidyard, Jacob Fernandez, is that when you're making a selfie style video like this is very much about us.
Yeah.
The one thing we always know about prospecting is the whole purpose of personalizing outreach is to show Mikey exactly why we're reaching out to them. So it's great to maybe highlight us, but that's very much about me. So one of the biggest things that we've always recommended to our new account executives, BDRs, and SDRs that have been doing this is using more screen share functionalities. Now, one thing that I always found absolutely so effective when I was actually using this from an outbound angle was going through somebody's LinkedIn profile. And if you actually click on the thumbnail, it'll blow their picture nice and big. So Mikey can see his face. What a better way to personalize something by bringing Mikey's face up and being able to actually walk through things like their company website, maybe aspects of your platform, whatever can actually showcase to Mikey, hey, this is why I'm reaching out to you. Why you? Why now? I noticed this about what your team is doing. I think there's some other ways that we can help. And why us? This is the solution that we provide. Here's how I think we can actually benefit you. And then asking for some quick time. Now, the biggest thing from a prospecting angle as well, if you're looking at this from a cold outbound side of things, is we all know that prospects have the attention span of goldfish. That's not saying good, bad, ugly, or anything like that, but it's talking about efficiency. If nobody knows who you are or what you do, they're not going to sit around for 3 minutes to understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I know Jordan is really going to talk about, especially when we go through these best practices, is think about, especially from a prospecting angle, think of this like a voicemail.
Yep.
Introduce yourself, say why you're reaching out, and ask for a next step. Think of it like a 10-30-10 rule.
Yep.
10 seconds to say why you're reaching out to that person, 30 seconds to give them your elevator pitch, and then 10 seconds to ask for your next step.
Mm-hmm.
This way, they have a really good understanding of who you are, why you're reaching out, and how you can benefit them. Because then we can start talking about some follow-up strategies after we go through this part, and we'll probably go through the entire funnel as we talk through this. But it gives them a really concise idea of why you're reaching out to them so that they can start to decide if this is worth that conversation or not there. But Jordan, I'll let you get some best practices in that too.
Yeah. It's funny, the 10-30-10, I'm still trying to find like a good name for it. I thought of like a minute or quit it, but I just don't know if that sounds bad or not. So I'm still thinking of a good name for this, but it's a great model I follow a lot because I think of, you say like attention span of a goldfish. I have the attention span of a goldfish. It's bad. Friends of mine call it squirrel brain. Like I'm like that. Like I can't latch on to things for too long. And as humans, we've actually have decreased a lot in our attention span. Or you can look at it as increasing. We've found ways to get our point across in quicker ways. So there's good ways to look at it. It goes without saying, like you see it on Instagram, YouTube, things like that, where the ads come up for a reason. People say like they're pissed that it's there, that it pops up, but it's actually to keep you more entertained and keep watching. If you're watching a video, it's crazy, Josh. We did a test on one of our prospects where we sent Mike, you're finding it funny. We sent it to a prospect. We sent out it's a 5-minute video, but we broke it up into 1-minute segments, and they watched the whole thing. But when we sent them the 5-minute video, they only watched like a minute and a half. Yeah. It's weird because as humans, we see like a long span and we're just like, what is this? I don't want to watch it. But if they're in short bursts of 55, 56 seconds, impactful, it's quick. You don't notice that like it's that long of a video. It's very interesting to see.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's similar to like emailing, right? It's just like you send a big email to an executive, they're not going to have time and they're not going to bother reading through it, right? So if you kind of break that up and really just this is what you need to know right now. It's you can tell that it's going to be much more successful, right?
100%. Sandra, I think I just took that from your T Cube. I think I'm going with that. Thank you. But it goes like, honestly, even myself, like when I see a long email right away, like now, obviously more because I've been in this role, but like right away, you're like, this is a newsletter spam. I'm looking for the unsubscribe button. It's sad to say, but it's usually what we do right away. Like Josh said, though, video is a good supplement. This is now another tool in your tool belt. In my role before, it's crazy because when we first got started, we were also still learning of how to use the tool that we sell more effectively. So we have to learn, we have to adapt. The whiteboard method was a big way that we used to do this. So like, I'm glad Josh mentioned LinkedIn one, because that is a huge step. And we switched the approach from about them. We are prospecting you, and we want to show that we are trying our best to learn about you, your role, your persona, your metrics as much as possible before we even reach out to you, so we can be relevant and we can add value to your day. If you can't add value to the person in any capacity, they're not going to want to watch. And especially if you're not relevant, if you're in sales, Mikey, and I'm talking to you about IT support tickets, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on here? Jordan, I'm not in IT, man. What are you talking about? So that's two things I want to mention right there. A good thing for best practices going forward. When you're making a video, think about the person, their role, and make sure you're adding value to them, their persona, or at least their company. I've had it, Josh has definitely had it, where, hey, this is not for me, but I have someone else here at my company that could maybe use this, and then they can give you a referral. Worst case scenario. If you're from Ontario, worst case Ontario is what we call it for the people in the crowd. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the relevancy, right? Be relevant as much as possible. Use your other tech stacks. Like Josh said, this is just a tool in the tool belt, right? You have your other tech stacks that you might use. Find the research about the individual before you reach out. And then I'll dive into a little bit more about some best practices around the video. Josh, if you want to actually dive in, so we're talking about prospecting. If you want to dive into the next big use case that you find, more than happy to kind of kick it into the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously from like, now that you reached out to somebody, you made Mikey this beautiful prospecting video, really highlight exactly how your solution can help Mikey. He's like, you know what, like, I'm actually ready to take that next step. And again, I've always been a huge advocate of doing more of that screen share functionality, making it about them. And two huge elements we want to think about as we're using video is how do we actually personalize this content? Because you'll always hear things like personalization at scale, things like that. In all honesty, I'm a very big believer, like Sam McKenna talks about. And if anybody knows Sam McKenna, highly recommend checking out some of her content as well. I know she's a big Sales Hacker fan, but there's no way you can personalize things at scale. It doesn't exist. And that's maybe my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but it is what it is. The biggest thing that I've always been such a huge believer in is even if you don't exactly personalize it to the person, you can personalize it to the situation, right? So maybe it's one kind of talk track or one use case that could impact a couple people in an organization. Personalize it to that specific pain point, or maybe to Mikey, or maybe it's the action Mikey took, downloading a white paper on your website, booking a demo request, things like that. It doesn't always have to be a one-to-one personalized video, but personalizing it to the action that person took is a fantastic way to show relevancy that, hey, you know what? They took the time to learn a little bit more about us. I'm going to take the time to actually show them that I'm interested in gaining their business here. So once we've actually done that initial part, the next thing that we want to talk about is how do we make sure they actually get to that first meeting? So this is another huge area where video can actually play in. And in my opinion, this is really where we see whiteboard and a marketer looking at that play. I'm a really big fan of this from handoffs. So SDR, BDR to account executive or account executive to post sales, or even introductions from a first meeting here as well. So before actually getting that first meeting with Mikey, maybe a day or two before, we're actually looking at, hey, I want to make sure Mikey knows maybe a quick agenda for what that meeting is going to be about, and bringing any relevant content we want to make sure we're talking to so we can make the best use of your time. Make a quick video, maybe putting his name on a whiteboard, saying, hey, again, just want to put a face to the name, really excited to talk to you Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern here to go over XYZ. If there's anything else you'd like to add, please let me know. Really excited to talk to you. We've actually seen not only through our account executives internally, but even through our clients, teams being able to reduce their no-show rates by 50% or more simply by adding a video as that reminder email. Because it's such a fantastic way to, again, put a face to the name. It's a lot harder to no-show somebody when you've seen their face and you feel like you have that personal relationship with them. But two, making sure that they have a really good understanding of exactly what's going to be covered. Because like Jordan said, if you can add value to them within the time you're doing, the more relevant it's going to be. And I know one of the things that Dave Kennedy always talks about, again, huge person here from the Sales Hacker community as well, I know he's done a lot of episodes here, is whenever you're speaking to a client, they should, like, even if they don't buy your product, they should almost pay for the time that you spent with them, because you've been such a great consultant and showcasing them other elements, how to think or how to just be there in general. That time should be absolutely invaluable to that person too. So again, adding value to that person at every step in that relationship is such a huge, fantastic way to use it, even before we get into some other sides on that. But Jordan, I'll let you go through some of those best practices we go forward here too.
Definitely. A big thing to point out here that Josh mentioned and I want to talk about is personalization at scale. Absolutely agree, Josh. When I first started as an SDR, I was actually worried. I was like, I'm going to get fired here. Like, there's no way I'm making 100 videos today. And it's because Josh Kirkham himself was the man of the hour all the time and was able to crank out 40 videos because he was just phenomenal at what he did, that you took a while to learn of how he did it. And once we realized, not trying to toot your horn, but you were really good at it, was scheduling. He actually scheduled out time to book this is where I'm going to record. So that's one thing I want to coach on. I find it's more effective when you can book out a time in your day. Like, this is video time. Notifications are off. Obviously, have your cell phone near you. If there's an emergency or something, like Mikey said, you got to put out a fire. Kids, whatever, have that near you. But book a time in the day. I usually, if you guys are in the Eastern time, I usually go around 1 o'clock. The sun is at the highest peak. You get good lighting. That's one thing I want to talk about is, doing what you can in your office. I'll mention that a little bit later. But personalization at scale is hard. I'll be honest, I've worked here for a long time. Well, not a long, like extremely long time, but I've come to realize that, like, I can't humanly make 100 videos a day. We work here at Vidyard. I don't think Josh can do it, every day for the rest of his life. Like, it gets hard. It gets frustrating because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of times it's like cold calling where you reach out and you don't get a reply. And then you get hurt by it. You're like, damn, I didn't get that response I needed. So one thing I want to talk about, personalization at scale, that can help. That's still effective. We've talked about hyper personalized, right? 1-to-1. This is for Mikey, but generic works very well too. It is not as effective as hyper personalized, obviously, but it's something that I do a lot, where I make a video. Hey there, hi there, thanks for clicking play. It's one video I use very often. So Josh is talking about right now, doing introductions. I've done it before where I've used it as an introduction video. And that's because just in my role itself, I'm on probably 3 to 4 or 5 calls a day, roughly. So sometimes creating a personalized video sometimes can get hard if I have a busy day. We've all been there. You have a busy day. So I use a generic video sometimes. I feel like I'm cheating myself, but it still works and it's effective. Because at the end of the day, like we said before, if you're giving value and you're adding relevancy to that video, you're breaking the ice. They're already seeing what you look like. I used to have longer hair and no beard, so I had to redo my video. So make sure you're switching it up, obviously, as you're going on. But generic does work. I use it as a shotgun approach to the marketing team itself. When I get my leads, I make a video. It's a small snippet of what I do for my coaching calls. It's about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes long max. And it's quickly just highlighting about the agenda. And it's a shotgun approach. We just fire out the one video to 500-600 people and just see what I get. Still useful. It's still great because video is still different. It is unique to the person when they're receiving it. There's a good chance they may have never got a video before. Mikey, it looks like you're dying to say something.
No.
Okay. All good. You're going. But that is honestly something I just want everyone to know because I do hear it a lot. Like, hey, Jordan, like, it's time consuming, man. Like, honestly, like, I've spent a lot of time making these videos. So one thing I want to leave you with, I actually heard it from a coaching call I had. A guy told me, he's like, don't let perfection be the enemy of your progress. And he said it to me. I was like, did you make that up or did you shoot up? But like, I've been using that since because perfection is hard. It's hard to get. And honestly, sometimes perfection in a video can come off almost spammy at times, right? If you have the perfect setup, it just looks like you created this crafty little message in your little underground lair at your house with this lab you built, like with expensive equipment. Of course, if you have it, use it, obviously, right? But the key part we want to highlight here today is be yourself in your videos, regardless if it's prospecting. Josh talking about introductions. Use your personality still. It's a great tool you have in life. So use your personality in your videos and don't be afraid to mess up, right? We can say, it happens. I say a lot. I'm 28 years old. My voice still cracks and my girlfriend hates me for it, but it happens, right? It's one of those things that you can't avoid. I can't, I'm just trying to think of, my last name, right? Mike, you asked me before this call, right? Some people mess up my last name. If you mess up my last name, it's fine, right? You're not going to leave the room. If we were hanging out one-on-one in person, you can't just walk away and just try it again. Yeah. You got to keep going making that video. So that is a good thing. I just saw a good question pop up, actually, Giselle. How can you increase rates for prospect contacts to actually click this video? So it's spam or virus. Great question. I'll touch on it. I'll let Josh kind of expand on it too. That goes with what I'm kind of saying. The more you can make the video look tailored to the person, that helps a lot. The good thing about using any sort of video tool, I'm just thinking of our competitors. I know they're the same. The videos don't actually embed into the email, so you're not sending a video file to the person. That is a cool thing. So that's a big thing that already skips the whole spam virus thing. You're not sending a video file. I believe, Josh, you can correct me on it, but I believe all of our competitors are the same. You send a link to a video. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, so the only way to do that is if you use actually Google Embed, Outlook Embed. So it's just a thumbnail that goes, it's a thumbnail video. We can show you in a moment what that looks like in an email. Josh will pull up an example later on. It's essentially a thumbnail of the image of the beginning of a video. It can be a GIF, it can be animated. And essentially what you want to do, I can show an example too of like a LinkedIn way, ways that we can tailor the message to, and also email templates, right? It's not just the video itself, actually. The words are still there. We don't just send a video and say, hey, see you later. Oh, God, I got a view here. You still got to put some messaging in there, and we can tailor that a little bit and tone back the long text.
Yeah.
I get a long text from my girlfriend. I'm freaking out right away. I'm ready, like, what's going on? What did I do wrong? And it could be a nice message. But it's crazy because now I FaceTime, right? You do it in person. You do it FaceTime all the time. If I want to get a point across to a buddy, I just call him quickly, FaceTime, boom, video, hey, how's it going? So think about that now in business, right? If you need to get your point across to a prospect, a customer, can we just create them a quick 2-minute video instead of just doing this whole email back and forth, answering questions? So think about that going forward and throughout this journey that you're going to be on going forward. That can we shorten down our text? If it's, I would say, more than 2 paragraphs, it could probably be a video. Zoom, we call it zoomed out. Josh knows, getting on Zoom calls, right? If it doesn't need to be a Zoom call, make an asynchronous video. Save yourself time and their time. Make a quick 2-minute video about what's going on internally, externally, however the use case may be. But those are some best practices around just like creating that video in general and personalization on scale for sure.
Yeah, I love that that aspect of embedding the actual video into the email, because I noticed in the past when I've used video, I'd send a link, and a lot of the time, right, a ton of companies have that firewall that automatically push it into spam, right?
Yeah.
So I love that that piece there. I think that's super helpful.
Yeah.
I was going to say one thing, building off Jordan's thing around like perfectionism, things like that. It's something that we see a lot for our brand new account executives as well, because not only are people hired internally, like Jordan and I work for roles, but most of my team, and I have a team of 10 right now, coming from positions where they've never used video through selling. So this is a brand new system for them. And one of the biggest things that they have to learn at the start is the whole idea of what we like to call being a one-take wonder.
Yep.
Video does not take a ton of time to do. If you do it 1 or 2 times, holy crap, does it take a long time if you take 5, 7, 20 attempts to make your first video. The biggest thing is if you don't drop an F-bomb or you don't absolutely butcher your pitch, it's good to go. Like Jordan was saying, if you're on a live call with somebody, maybe they picked them on a cold call, maybe you're on a demo, you're human. You're allowed to be human. It's totally okay. Be yourself, do your best. I've literally had conversations or videos I've sent out where I've stumbled over my words, make a quick joke, be like, wow, that wasn't English. Keep going again. It's all good. People like the fact that you're a human. The whole idea of using this is to humanize your sales approach, no matter where you're using it in the funnel. So huge point here is try as hard as you can to be a one-take wonder. It's going to keep you very efficient. And again, like Jordan was saying here as well, make sure we're blocking our time. Just like if we were doing a cold call blitz. And I remember using systems like Connect Leader in the past, where it was an auto dialing service as a BDR. And you'd sit there for 2 hours just going through lists and calls and things like that. Video should be very similar. When you're going through, and I mean, whether you're using Outreach, SalesLoft, Groove, whatever that is, and you're importing all your contacts in, make all your videos at once. You can honestly, we try to have our team reach out to at least 75 to 100 people a week at times, all with personalized videos, and it's very manageable to do on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it only takes them 30 minutes to an hour to actually make those videos, and then actually start sending them out probably another half an hour. And we've always liked to say, start using your morning as like your video making time, or maybe it's in your afternoon, depending how your day is structured. send it all your videos. And I've always liked to use my afternoon to call, because one of the things that I've always liked to do is also the videos I make today, I would send out tomorrow. So I'm always working a day in advance for my prospecting.
Yep.
So as I'm making my videos today, I'm getting all the views from somebody watching, which is, again, anonymous, or whatever that word is, anonymous throughout every platform that uses video too. Most of them have the ability to actually track how somebody's watching it. Mm-hmm. So as I'm making my videos in the morning, I'm getting all the notifications that Jordan and Mike are watching the video. So then I can pick up my phone and try to get them on a call, because I know Mikey's not in the middle of a meeting there too. So huge fan of actually blocking your time out. It'll make you so much more efficient through your prospecting efforts too.
Totally. Yeah. It's like it's the same. I think it's like even just recording your videos. It's like I've always said that prospecting is something that you need to do whether you're a BDR or account executive, right? And you need to spend time and actually mark it in your calendar and treat that time like, a call that you're closing a deal, right? You just do it and focus on it, and don't push it off because you don't think it's as important, right? So I love how it's just like, okay, you set the time, you do it, and then you can kind of start the process, right? So love that insight.
It's like a mindset thing, kind of how we look at it. Like it's distracting too. Like if you're making a video at 9 and then someone calls, in sales, like your day is not as scheduled as you want it to be, right? You have your meetings, but like your day to day, like you get one call and things change, right? So if you're planning to make a video, now that gets pushed back, or something gets pushed back. So just have your time blocked. Speaking of time, I just want to be cognizant of it. So Josh, I do want them to know a little bit more about video throughout the process, where I think it's actually really unique. I love when you guys do this, when you're kind of talking to the person, you're closing it out, like how would you do your follow-up with someone, after you had that sales call? Because a lot of people always ask me like, hey, like I use video in the beginning and I'm done. I'm like, no, this keeps going. You can use video when you're doing a proposal, like a follow-up. So I don't know if you have any examples, or does the crowd actually have any examples for us?
And I mean, even talking to it while we're finding some in here as well. I think, honestly, that's probably one of the deadliest areas to use video. Every single person and their dog knows how to use video from a prospecting angle, or knows about video within prospecting. I would say probably the most useful ways of using video is actually post first call. So maybe after your discovery call, your demo call. Because some of the biggest things we know just from sales in general is that it's very rare where you're talking to the final decision maker and economic buyer in that first call as well. So some of the biggest ways that we always try to tell not only our reps here as they're starting with Vidyard, but even to some of the clients we work with, is using video post that process. So maybe I just spoke with Mikey, and Mikey's like, hey, you know what? I got to go talk to Mr. Dave Kennett. He's the actual decision maker in this process too. I mean, Dave probably makes a lot of decisions in his life, but one of the easiest ways to actually use video is through that whole idea of champion selling. So the one thing we all know is that there's a lot going on in everyone's life. A lot of meetings happening, a lot of ways mixing work-life balance, dealing with the kids, having a job, things like that. So one of the easiest ways that we can help our champions communicate internally is by making them a quick video recapping exactly what you spoke about. So that way, when Mikey's going to meet with Dave, right before the Zoom meeting they have, and they have a 30-minute block on Thursday at 2 o'clock, it's the only time he gets to talk to Dave all week. He can send Dave this quick video before the meeting, the day before, be like, hey, here's something I'd actually like to discuss on a meeting. Here's a 3-minute recap video from Jordan, who I spoke with, highlighting exactly what this product does and how it can help us. That way, Dave can take it on his own time. And then that saves Mikey from trying to remember exactly what that product did, all the different intricacies between you and every other competitor they're looking at. It makes it very easy to help communicate that information with those stakeholders too. So very, very big fan about using video throughout the entire sales cycle, especially from a champion selling perspective, because we know that there's more and more stakeholders being involved in sales cycles as we look to move forward. And our job as sales reps is to try to make our champions' life as easy as we can to start having those conversations internally. Yeah. And this is some of the biggest ways that we've even seen clients, even I know Proposify is one that I personally got to work with as well, where they actually had a study showing that using video through that proposal walkthrough segment in their sales cycle actually helped increase their close rates by 41%. That's simply huge. By making it easier for your champion to communicate internally.
41%.
41%. The case study Proposify put out there too. So
yeah, no, that's huge. It goes to show that like just a small little let's call it 60, 90-second video can have such an impact. And that's what I love about my job, is that we forget that we can be impactful in a short span. A lot of people always think that these videos need to be extremely long. They don't. Like Sandra said, we're T-cubed on this. Using that going forward. Go 10, 30, 10 on a lot of your videos. I would say if you're open in communication, let's say Mikey and I, we had that first chat, we're in that prospecting, we're in that proposal phase. These videos can then be longer. We've chatted, we broke the ice here, we're breaking bread at this point. Let's keep it short though, as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, it's still a time consuming thing. But if there's value there and there's relevancy, it does go a long way. So Josh, we did get one from the crowd. Actually, if you want to open up Ryan's video, Ryan, we're going to do a live review actually right here. See if you can open in the chat.
Let's see if I can get this one.
Yeah.
Oh, one on my other screen here. I like the virtual background too. Actually, I had a couple examples I was going to show today from some of our account executives as well, showing a virtual background. But here, can everyone see Nick on my screen here? Love the brand. I've never heard of these guys before, Vidyard or something like that. But I heard they're pretty cool in the space. But awesome. Let's take a look here. So I'll get my mic a little bit closer to my speaker so we can make sure to hear this. Hopefully, so.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. Ryan Vincent here with the EHS Daily Advisor. Thought I'd call you in the middle of my day, so everything's a little bit on fire. But hey, I always have time for you, and I was thinking about you. I know I had sent over a list of attendees for this year's EHS Exchange. I was wanting to know what you thought. You see anybody there worthwhile? Some quality leads, somebody you want to meet with? As you know, the EHS Exchange, we set people up with one-on-one meetings. We're in Cleveland in August, and we're also in Orlando this October. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to talk further, always game. Hope you have a terrific Thursday and enjoyed this really cheesy video outreach. Talk soon, buddy. Later.
I love it. I think my favorite thing with that is the whole tonality and energy with it. One of the things that my hiring manager told me when I started at Vidyard, his name was Evan Santa, legendary guy. But one of the things he said is that if you were bored watching your video, how do you think somebody who's never heard of you before is going to feel? Like we, as salespeople, we are in the space of entertainment, whether we like it or not. If people aren't really engaging with what you're saying, you know what? It might be a little bit tougher to do that role. So one of the things I love about that video, I love the energy you bring, because if you don't bring the energy, nobody will. So that's a fantastic way to hold somebody's attention. And obviously adding a little bit of that extra flair with some of the fire backgrounds are pretty sweet. I know members of our team use systems like Snap Camera, I think is what it's called. And I actually have some examples today from Rory O'Donnell from our commercial sales team, who likes to do that a lot, where you can add things like company backgrounds in the back and things like that. So awesome video, and thank you very much for sharing there. That was awesome.
Yeah, hey, Ryan, you know how successful that was.
Yeah, Ryan, what was that? Did he respond to you, Nick? I'll wait for you in the chat, or did you get a meeting book? Got a response. Awesome. Yeah, that's huge. And I love, I'm going to just like add on to what Josh said and the personality you brought, right? Yes, it's cheesy, it's corny, but it works. And that's part of what I love to coach people on, is the more creative you can be in your videos, people love it. I would never expect someone to send me a video with a Snapchat filter with fire. But I was actually interesting to see when you were actually going to tie that in, or you're just going to actually just have fire all around you, never mention it. So I'm glad you did, because it's true. You're bringing your personality into that video, and he's liking your energy, right? That's a big thing here. If you want any sort of critiquing, the only critiquing I would give to that, sometimes, the fire emoji can get in front of your face. It really didn't in that one. So just watch filters. I'll be honest, like Ryan's there for the crowd was good. It didn't really take away from his face. There are some filters though that can be like super distracting, where there's like googly eyes coming at you and stuff. Like those are, I think, a little too extreme. So I'm a big fan of Snap Camera. It's like what Ryan used with Snapchat, but for your laptop. So really cool, Ryan. Check that out too if you ever want to record on your laptop. Personalization.
We have another solution here too, if we want to dive into that one. And then between these, we can keep talking about ways to use it throughout the sales cycle too. But here, let's take another dive in here.
We got one from Giselle. Oh, okay. Is this from Giselle?
From Giselle.
Awesome. Thanks, Giselle.
Happy Friday. I hope you guys are doing great. Anna and Christine, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me this week. I really appreciate it. It was really great learning about what you guys have in plan for ADP. I wanted to give you guys some news. The quote is approved, so whenever you guys are ready to schedule that demo with me, we can go ahead and review it. I will leave a link down here below so that you guys can click on that and find the time and date that works best for the demo next week. All right, well, you guys enjoy your weekend. Have a great one. See you next time.
Love it. And Joel, I'll let you go first on this one because I stole the spotlight last time.
No, it's all good. No, it's this is another good use case here throughout the sales cycle. It happens. People drop off. They ghost. I know, Giselle, you mentioned like this is where they've gone dark, right? So I'm curious, Giselle, if you mentioned this, or maybe I'm about to just critique and help. Your room was dark. So I don't know if you actually meant to do that, where it's like gone dark and then you're in a dark room. But if not, this is where a best practice comes in. Either or. So it's a great video. I'm not taking that away from you. If you did, you're actually amazing. You did a dark room. That was amazing. But get natural lighting as much as possible. If you are creating videos and you do have that access to natural light in your house, definitely do it. It's getting better today, but I know earlier today, Josh, it was storming here in Kitchener, right? So it was like a gloomy day, so I have to turn on this other light I have. Do what you can in your house. Backgrounds. I know there's some questions coming in. I'll answer them right after, but Giselle, great video, great use case there. And I love that because it's something that opens up. I wish it was that amazing, but yeah, it is, right? It's a gloomy day. It's hard to record on a gloomy day. Get the natural lighting if you can. If you can't, in terms of lighting in your actual house, do what you can. Like I have a light above me. Make sure the light isn't really in the camera though, so it doesn't provide a lot of glare. And then people with glasses, it is what it is. I know Josh wears glasses sometimes too. Like if you're recording, there is going to be a little bit of glare on glasses. It's fine. We're used to it by now. Don't worry about that. But just make sure the lighting itself isn't in the camera view, because then that creates a big shine and kind of just like it'll eat up your whole face and you won't be able to see your face much. Yeah.
And I don't have access to a window right here. It's not great for the room. So I'd actually just have, I think I got these at Walmart for $5. And it just shines up on the wall and it adds some pretty good lighting from that angle. We've actually seen it's helped increase teams' click-through rates by even up to 20% just from some of the people internally. Literally just by having some different lighting, it adds it a little bit more engaging, a little bit more enticing from that angle too. So it is definitely a big best practice to have that front-facing lighting, making sure we're not backlit. So it's very easy to see who's talking and to allow that energy. But love the energy you had in the video. Love the big smile. Because again, we want to make sure that it's clickable, and when we're having fun, people are having fun watching them too. So
yeah, I've always when I used video in the past, well, when we were still in office, our team would go outside and get each other to film each other, so then you can get the full perspective of the person and kind of their body language. Cool. Yeah. I found that to be, and then you got to see their surroundings too, of like where they live and stuff like that. So I always found that was pretty successful as well. Plus, you got the natural light as well. So yeah, totally get it.
Yeah, there's some.
I was going to say, even with that whole idea about engaging people back when they've gone dark, some of the best practices that we've even seen in the team is just being creative. So you could use it from like breakup emails, and I have an example today of one from one of the members on our commercial team that he likes to use as well. I've had my colleague, the other sales manager, back when he was an account executive. We live up in Canada here, so we do get winter. It does get cold at times, and they were going cold on him. So he stood out on the roof in the snowstorm, filmed himself saying, "Hey, you left me out in the cold." And it was a great way to help revive somebody. I remember having a opportunity back in January where I had a verbal at the start of the January. 3 weeks went by and I hadn't heard anything. And so what I actually did, and by no means am I going to do this today, but I picked up one of the guitars on the wall over here and I made up a song and I sent it over to the signer just because I hadn't heard anything from them in so long. And I not only got a response that day, but I ended up signing off on the sales order the next day. So just finding that way to create that pattern disrupt for that person as well. Show a bit of that personality too. And as long as it's business appropriate, I think it's a great thing to do to help re-engage, especially cold or dark contacts within that sales cycle.
Nice.
No, it's Ryan video. Yeah, we'll definitely show that one. I want to just highlight some things in the chat. Like Ryan said, he does this in his basement. It doesn't, like, lighting doesn't take away from the messaging at all. It does help. So it still works. Like, lighting is not the most crucial thing. It does help a lot. Obviously, that's just my a lot of this is my own opinion too, just from being in the role. Like it does, if you are in a very dark room recording a video, it just seems very, I don't want to say sketchy, because it's not really that sketchy. It's just like it comes off like you're not as professional. Like just get some sort of lighting there. They want to see your face. It comes off like you're just like Darth Vader, just like in the basement. But it works. Like Ryan, as you just saw, he did a video in his basement and it worked. Because his energy is there, and his delivery and his value and everything is there. Giselle, great video. I love the use of calling people out too. That is a big thing. I do it a lot where if a breakup, I call it out right away. Same thing goes with like a notification. If they don't respond to me and I saw that they watched my video 100%, make another video and call it out. We're at 2:48. I think we got time for this last one. Actually,
I actually really like this one too, because I think this is one of the other areas that I actually really want to talk about today in terms of using video through that sales cycle. So one thing we know as well is when we're talking with different stakeholders and you're trying to either coordinate a meeting with 5 different C-level executives or something like that, sometimes our meetings can get pushed out quite a few weeks. And at times, those conversations don't always need to happen. These C-suite executives just need to know what your platform does. So one of the things that Bryce actually put in the channel here, which I think is awesome, is using video as a way to actually dive into a bit of a value prop. So maybe that's like a micro demo video, actually walking through your platform, or just a high level overview of what you are. So I'm going to play that one here. Make sure I get the volume up here on this Vimeo player. And let me dive into this one. We'll play a little bit because Bryce had mentioned it's a bit of a longer video, but I think it's a fantastic use of how video can be used throughout the entire sales cycle as well. So
getting it wrong. Most messaging pre-COVID suffered from 3 pretty toxic hallmarks. First one, too much information. We just pack an insane amount of information into our messaging, and we may have good motives, but just leads to total cognitive overload on the part of our customers. The second thing you tend to see is value propositions that are confusing or unclear. So yeah, I kind of understood most of the words. I sort of see what you're saying, but I don't really understand why this thing is so compelling, why I should really act.
And these types of things are awesome, whether that's different thought leadership from different stakeholders internally. I know at Vidyard, Tyler Lessard is our VP of marketing, who is very well known within the community too. And he does a lot of thought leadership pieces. And it's something that I really get our team to leverage a lot. And Bryce, I think you mentioned too, it was a CEO delivering the value proposition. That stuff's awesome, right? Where you can actually have somebody who's that subject matter expert deliver that piece of content, whether that's from a thought leadership angle or maybe actually getting very technical and into the weeds depending on the complexity of the solution you're selling to. Such a fantastic way to help communicate that to internal stakeholders.
Yeah, I know there's a couple of questions coming in. You mentioned there's one about backgrounds. It's definitely been something on Vidyard's radar. We actually have dabbled in it and tried. It just got a little janky in the system when you're trying to record something live. Because I do want to give my opinion on backgrounds. Sometimes you do have to watch out, though, I'll be honest. Using certain so Ryan's was different. Ryan was a filter that got put on the screen. Zoom backgrounds actually go around your layout, and sometimes if you're wearing certain colors in certain backgrounds, it doesn't catch. And you've ever noticed, Josh, I'm sure you've seen it, where people like come in and out of like a Zoom background, and it's just like it's honestly distracting at that point. So we actually stopped using it because of that. Our program wouldn't catch that feature and be able to outline a human as much as possible. So it's still something we're working on, definitely. And there's a lot of cool questions coming in about this whiteboard feature that just got shown. Definitely on my radar. That was really cool. But just looking into the video itself, there you go. Yeah, it's definitely a third-party company that's involved. So that's something that Bryce's company made off. Yeah, not cheap. Yeah, definitely not. I was considering right away. I knew that was definitely an expensive thing, but really cool feature. That's something that you can do. Same with Vidyard, Vimeo, whoever you're using. You can make a video outside. If you're very good at visual effects, I know Adobe has great. iMovie is great at it. OBS, where you can customize your video elsewhere and then upload it into Vidyard, Vimeo, Loom, whoever you want to use your video, preferably Vidyard, but drop your videos into their platform and then still distribute it via your channels, your Gmail, your Outlook, social channels. So that's definitely, yeah, thank you, Bryce, for touching on that. I would love to have that feature in our tool. That was really cool, but that was definitely mirror board. Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely looked expensive, right? But it was cool. Very, very unique messaging. And that's another good use case, right? Where I use that a lot when I was an SDR, messaging from our CEO, our marketing department a lot from a shared video folder. And we just like, I would send that video out to someone who wanted a customer story. Customer stories are popular testimonials, right? And again, keep these short though. Like Bryce mentioned, like that was a longer video. If we can slim that down to a shorter version, that would be great. What I used to do was take that video that Bryce did and recap it for a person and then send both to them. If they want to watch the second, I tailored that into like a playlist. You can watch it after, but here's my short snippet of it.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Recap's good. Yeah, definitely.
It's a huge tool in the toolbar, right? The champion selling, it's such an easy way to help increase your close rate using video as well. So if you haven't dabbled with that, highly recommend to do it. I would say from a follow perspective, those videos could probably be about 2 to 3 minutes long, just because like Jordan mentioned earlier on, a lot of times these are warmer conversations. They actually know who you are. Maybe they know a bit about the product too. And a lot of times you can very easily tailor it to that specific client you're working with. So it's, again, that added level of personalization just to help with those internal conversations. And I know from a very last piece that I always like to say as well, is we want to make sure that we're helping, especially from that, once a deal is closed, Mikey's now a client of ours. How do we help make sure we retain Mikey as a great client and get him into our success team appropriately? This is another area where I highly recommend using something like the selfie style videos, things like that, where you're making that introduction to the new stakeholders that they're going to be working with. So maybe you're introducing different members of the launch team, what that launch process looks like. There's something they have to look in through their email, because the one thing we all understand, whether it's a SaaS-based business or anything like that, retention is the name of the game, right? We'll do all these things with CAC to make sure we're actually getting new clients involved. But the easiest ways businesses scale is when we're actually growing our base internally. So a very easy way to use it is not only just from a customer success standpoint, introducing those stakeholders, helping with that adoption piece, but even then from an account management perspective, maybe doing quarterly business reviews, walking through the usage of the platform and highlighting 1 to 2 different ways that they can start to better leverage the platform itself, whether we're looking at upsell, cross-sell opportunities too. And even in that notion, if we know that Mikey's a happy user and we're trying to get in touch with Sam McKenna, maybe their VP of marketing, it's a fantastic way where we can help with referrals too, where Mikey can actually get a really quick video from Jordan highlighting what he does and the value he can bring to that new stakeholder and give it to our champion to help make that introduction to referral internally in a fantastic way to help cross-sell some of our accounts and really grow that base internally too.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm glad you, sorry, go ahead, Mikey.
Go ahead, Jordan. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm glad you kind of, I was just looking at the time. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm actually just gonna kind of loop this right back in to talking about the role in general. I know I started off with like what we do here at Vidyard and what I do. Retention is huge. That is literally almost why we started coaching. We realized that a lot of the times our accounts were churning or they weren't signing in the beginning of the sales cycle because they didn't know how to use the product. And onboarding. Onboarding has been such an immense growth in the last, obviously, 2 years with what's going on in the world. People need to onboard virtually. So can you do it remotely via Zoom, or can you do it within a hub of videos? So it's been amazing for a lot of our customers to now realize, wow, they can use video to just make quick onboarding sessions for people. And it goes to like, this is what you do in the role, to like, this is how you fill out your tax form. Welcoming customers. I know Ryan just mentioned one great one, detailing how we serve. That is a huge thing. Like we do that when someone gets hired at Vidyard, there's a big onboarding session that gets sent to them, stockpile of videos, greetings from our CEO, everything. Amazing way to definitely use video. And I'm glad Josh mentioned that, because retention is huge. If you can't keep your customers, you may go out of business at one point. Hopefully not.
Yeah. I know there's one question in the Q&A that you said that you were going to.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, so share my thoughts on virtual design consultation and video call design consultation. Yeah, so I can definitely share my thoughts on it and kind of the structure I go about. I really tailor it to the person. When you're doing any sort of consulting in any capacity, when it comes to video and stuff, I like to take examples from the person as much as possible, things that they're have been trying, what they're looking to do. I kind of honestly go to the basics of the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. Like, where are you trying to get this to go? Who are you giving this to? Why? When do you want to deliver to? And what is the messaging you want to say? Those are the big things. It's really basic to go over, but I highlight cameos for clients would be cool. But that is definitely the way I go about it. It's a quick session on just taking them through a deeper dive of what they're doing and how can we better their process with the product or the service that they're using. But yeah, I'll kick it back to you, Mikey. I know we got a couple minutes here left.
Yeah, this is perfect, guys. Thank you so much for everything. I don't think we have any more questions to answer, but thank you both so much for taking the time today to bless us with your knowledge. I can't wait to go take what I learned today and start firing out some prospecting emails and videos, right? So super excited for that. And I just want to tell everyone that's here, go check out Vidyard. They're friggin' awesome. I've been using them for a while now, and it's great. So go check them out. Also, if you have any other questions for Josh or Jordan, find them on LinkedIn. Send them a message, and I'm sure they'll be able to get back to you shortly. But with that being said, Jordan and Josh, again, thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to get this recording going so I can kind of push that through, and I'm really excited to do this again sometime.
Thank you. No, thanks for having us on, Mikey. Man, more than happy to jump on another one. If you want to book another one in my calendar tomorrow, that'd be great. Awesome. I would love to book some time up to free my day. Yeah. No, from myself, I'm sure Josh will be thanking you too. Like, this is awesome. I love jumping on and educating people on video in general. It is new. It is scary. I'll be honest. It was, so to give some last tips, it was a lot for me to get into. I come from an anxious background, right? Like, anxiety is a thing. I'm like, are they going to judge me? So one thing I can remind yourself, don't care about what they think. I know it's hard, but when you're getting that video, getting in front of it, if you are nervous, what I used to do is I turned my monitor off. I didn't look at myself when I made my video. It was weird because I was in the office. Josh knows we were in the office, and at first, I'm a social go fun guy, but when it comes to a camera, I'm like, can I cringe up? I'm like, what? Why am I on camera? But honestly, everyone in the crowd, if you are nervous like that, don't be too hard on yourself. If you can't do the one take wonder right now, that's fine. Do your 2-3 takes. That's okay. Video, it takes a while to get going. So thanks again, Mikey, for having me on here.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate it. Wicked. One last thing before I let everybody go. We will be sending you the recording after the event through an email. So if there's anything you want to kind of rewatch or break down even further, we'll give it to you shortly here. But again, thank you all for joining us for the full hour. We love you guys. Thank you to the community for joining us. And Josh, Jordan, one last thank you. And we will definitely be doing this again soon.